Good morning, all. As you are well aware that you can pretty much do absolutely nothing without communications. And because of the severe beating that the telecoms network took during the passage of Hurricane Maria, we almost had a 95, almost 100% cutoff of the entire telecom system. So it really impeded and hampered our response activities. However, I'm pleased to announce that as of today, from the Flow network, and that's the mobile end of the Flow network, we have restoration in the following locations: Roseau and environs, spanning all the way to the south to Point Michel and some parts of Bellevue-Chopin. I can speak to Bellevue-Chopin. You have to be on the edge, overlooking Roseau, to get some service from Flow, because it's a little distance from Roseau. As a matter of fact, the first night I went to sleep in Bellevue, walking up, of course, no roads at the time. At 4 o'clock in the morning, what I did is before I went to bed, I put in all my WhatsApp messages. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, I walked to that edge, and all my messages went out, and all incoming messages came in. And then I went back home, and 1 hour later, I did the same thing. So if you drive around that area, right now you can drive to Bellevue. As a matter of fact, you can drive all the way to Grand Bay right now. You will find a lot of people on the edge of that area. They're either receiving or sending messages. So we are happy for that. Mont Daniel covering areas on the west coast, all the way down to Colibri, Kinfield, Massac, St. Joseph, pending some remedial work. Portsmouth, and that includes, well, Portsmouth proper, and it includes Glanvilla, Cochrane, covering Mont Prosper and Sylvania, Pontcassé covering Bells and the interior. Mobile service is expected to be functional in the following areas by the end of this week. That's Friday, October 6th, in Marigot, Eggleston, Stock Farm, Wesley, Calibishi, Viecas, Blemham, Picard, Emerald Pool area, including Castle Bruce. In terms of the mapping television service, assessment and recovery of active devices is still ongoing. Fixed line services is workable in the following areas, and that is contingent on the line planned to individual households. If your line is severed from the main lines going into your home, obviously you will not have any service, even if there is service in that area. So the fixed lines is contingent on that. So Roseau, Canefield, St. Joseph, Portsmouth, Mahou, and Pontcassé. There are a few fixed lines operational at this time. In terms of restoration to government and the private sector, the Government Financial Center and the police headquarters, those have been restored. Ross University, National Bank of Dominica, First Caribbean Bank International, Scotia Bank, First Domestic Insurance, Fast Cash, Fort Young Hotel, NCCU, Clare Harbor, and Auto Trade. The company will continue feverishly trying to do whatever it can to bring additional service back up for its customers. In terms of Digicel was also very aggressive in trying to bring their service back up. By the end of the first week after the storm, they were able to restore Glasgow and Great George Street. And the range at that time was from Point Michel to Jimmet, as soon as that tower up in Glasgow came back up. And then the following day, they were able to re-establish a service in the Layou area, and that gave them some coverage between the northern part and Jimmet. By the 27th, Digicel had restored 5 sites in and around the Roseau area, and by later that same day, were able to restore 2 more services in the Roseau area. They sought and received approval for the use of a 15 gigahertz to 18 gigahertz microwave system to expedite the restoration of services. Digicel also reported that they had limited cellular services with massive congestion, and that would be anticipated anyway because everybody wants to use their telephone right now. Which is a good thing. They can at least touch base with friends and family, but it's a bad thing for us because most times when you try to dial a number, it runs into the person's voicemail immediately, and sometimes you think people are not taking your calls, but it's because the lines are so congested, it routes to your voicemail. They have 2 VSATs presently working for connectivity in the areas of Grand Bay and Soufriere, and they also had 2 cell sites restored in the Point Round area in Portsmouth. This added to the range in the north so they could go deeper, get deeper coverage in the Portsmouth area, and then they were aiming to re-establish in Paybush and in the Monbruce area. So that is pretty much the service that we have, and you will see that it is a very extensive service at this point because you can pretty much get telephone connectivity, albeit not 100%, but you can get connectivity in very many parts of the country. Maybe I should talk briefly about some other systems that are around, and this is more or less for disaster purposes. The ITU provided a number of satellite phones for the government system and the Emergency Operations Center. We have a system which is up and running, operated by Vodafone Spain. There is Telecom Sans Frontières, that's like Doctors Without Borders or Telecoms Without Borders, operating here. And it's not for the general public, but I'm just highlighting them. Ericsson Telecom Cluster is also running a VSAT, and Epic Communications. And the last few I mentioned, they're exclusively for a lot of the international humanitarian organizations working here and the Emergency Operations Center. All right, thank you very much.